Hello, welcome to the FPC Newsroom. I'm Craig DeLuz with breaking news. Many of you are aware that Hurricane Florence is bearing down on the Northeast, and a lot of local municipalities are taking some very, very crucial steps in order to make sure that they and their residents are prepared for what's going down. But what many are not aware of is that one local town, the town of Leland, North Carolina, well, they've taken their preparation a little bit too far. Leland issued an emergency, an emergency and evacuation notice in preparation for Hurricane Florence. Now, the one thing that they did not note, or one place in which they kind of overstepped their bounds a little bit, had to do with this area right here. And it is the restrictions on the possession, transportation, and transfer of dangerous weapons and substances. Now, let's read what it says here. It says effective 9 p.m. on Wednesday, September 12th, 2018, the transportation or possession or sale or purchase of any dangerous weapon or substance while off one's premises is prohibited. Now, it goes on to say that this restriction does not apply to any individual or group of people who has the responsibility for the preservation of the public health, safety, and welfare. This restriction does not apply to any law enforcement officers, military personnel assigned to hurricane disaster duties, emergency medical personnel, or any other individual or groups or individuals whose job/employment will assist in the public's health, safety, and welfare. So now you're asking me, all right, Craig, so what exactly does all of that mean? Well, what they're in essence saying is that individuals will not be allowed to possess firearms, whether legally or not. So, in other words, if you have a valid, if you are able to validly open carry or validly conceal carry there in the town of Leland, well, that right will be revoked according to this particular statute. Now, the problem with this statute, quite frankly, or with this order, there's a couple of them. One of the issues in particular that are had with this is the first of which is that the state of emergency it cites a code that actually doesn't exist, Section 166, which, by the way, doesn't exist, and according to our attorney, doesn't exist. In fact, there is a section there that actually does exist that covers this. That's actually Section 166A, which does actually permit municipalities to enact ordinances designed to permit the imposition of prohibitions and restrictions within the emergency area. But included in that is a specific limitation. And it specifically says, except that this subdivision does not authorize prohibitions or restrictions on lawfully possessed firearms or ammunition. So state law right there already prohibits them from being able to implement such a particular order restricting ammunition or lawful weapons. Now, one of the other things that is a major issue here is that it doesn't really tell you what the issue of what is dangerous. In other words, there's a state definition of what dangerous is. The state definition of dangerous, in particular when dealing with chemicals, and it's largely getting at things like bombs and weapons of mass destruction and things like that. But this particular order doesn't really tell you what that means. What is a dangerous chemical? Or what is a dangerous substance? They even say it doesn't even have to be a chemical. It just has to be a substance. You know, water in too big an amount is dangerous. You know, in particular if you can't swim. But it once again it doesn't really cover the issue of whatever it is dangerous, and it also doesn't really address the issue when it comes to other quote unquote weapons. So meaning, for example, if you have a baseball bat or if you have a stick that is too big, can that be considered a dangerous weapon? And it is so vague and so arbitrary that the average individual is not going to know how to comply. Also, once again, when you get back to the issue of firearms, so let's say you're concerned that your house is going to blow away or is going to be flooded. You're telling me that you're not going to be able to transport your firearms? You're not going to be able to evacuate your stuff, your firearms, along with the rest of your stuff? You're being told you have to leave all of your firearms at home? That's just not going to work. So we filed a demand letter to the city, with the city of the Town of Leland. They have their own police force, so we issued a letter to them. And, well, needless to say, I don't necessarily want to say needless to say, but turns out they actually wound up revising the order. Now, it's good and bad. They wound up actually revising the order, and they sent us a copy of the revised order, which does include the exemption for legally possessed firearms and ammunition. But unfortunately, that hasn't made its way to the city's website yet. The city's website still has not been updated and still contains the old information. In fact, I just showed it to you. That was the city's website. The other thing is that they still haven't addressed the issue of dangerous. What does dangerous mean when it comes to substances or when it comes to weapons? So needless to say, our attorneys are still working with the Town of Leland in order to address this issue and make sure that people's rights are protected. Now, for those of you who think that, well, the government's never going to implement this, or they're never going to confiscate. Well, look, all you have to do is look back to Katrina and the numerous instances where individuals had their firearms confiscated, where they went door to door confiscating firearms from people's residences and their places of business, where they stopped people who were evacuating, asked them if they had firearms, and confiscated whatever firearms they had. And in many cases, in a lot of cases, they never got those firearms back. That was in New Orleans during Katrina. So if you don't believe it could happen, trust me, it can happen. All right. So we just wanted to let you guys know that this is once again, it's a victory and it's a good thing, but we're also working to make sure that the people know the truth behind the law and what's going on here in the city of Leland. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for now. I want to very much let you guys know we appreciate you guys. We appreciate your support and how you support us here at the Firearms Policy Coalition. This sort of stuff, this sort of legal work doesn't happen without you or without your support. So please continue to support the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them or you're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.